if they want a movement that's actually going to be about the people, about the communities, and doing something, don't come around here talking about all these reparations and systemic inequality, all this type of stuff. Just build up the community. Most of us are from Baltimore, Maryland, to predominantly Black area, and let me tell you something. I'm sick of FBAs. Okay,
I'm sick of them too. I'm just sick of people begging all the damn time.
Yeah, you can actually walk down Baltimore and step in human feces, and it's generally from an FBA. Okay, so because it's been all over the news. This what is so-called foundational Black American. Okay, so this has been like a big thing recently with rapper Fat Joe. So he was on some podcast and he called out this group, this movement, Foundational Black Americans, also called FBAs. Fat Joe is a rapper here. Personally, I don't think he's like a major rapper. I don't think he's a great rapper. He's been on the scene a long time. He knows everybody. He's from New York. He's Latino. But as far as his skills and things, personally, I don't, he's not even in probably my top 50. But I'm not even focusing on him as a rapper or anything. I want to talk about this movement and what happened when he came out against it. So first, let's talk about what foundational Black Americans are. So the term refers to a concept coined by activist and filmmaker Tariq Nasheed. It's used to describe Black individuals in the United States who are descendants of African people enslaved in the U.S. prior to the abolition of slavery in 1865. It highlights a distinct culture and historical identity tied to the experiences of slavery, Reconstruction, segregation, and systemic racism within the United States. So those are the people that Fat Joe was talking about. Now, before I get you ladies and gentlemen in, I want to give you this next clip where the gentleman is pushing back against Fat Joe's critique of FBAs.
The problem is there's one cultural distinction that has not been celebrated because everybody can easily assimilate into it, and that's foundational Black Americans. That's it, and that's all. We have contributed to the world in a way that has gone unrecognized and basically pillaged and assaulted for the better part of 400 years. And one of the main people who have assaulted us is Fat Joe himself. Because let's face it, Fat Joe has not had a hit worth talking about. I said hit, and by hit, I mean mainstream. You can argue with your mom, or you can argue with somebody who was in that game for about 3 decades. Fat Joe has not had one hit that did not have a foundational Black American on it. Go ahead, name it. And you say, well, he has some joints with Big Pun. None of those were hits. Some of them were cult classics, but none of them were mainstream hits. All the way up, Black people. Lean back, Black people. Everything that he has done has been there. And then he has the unmitigated gall to identify as white on plenty of applications. The receipts have been pulled. But the truth of the matter is, Fat Joe is the worst type of culture vulture. He's a culture vulture that acted like because he's from the Bronx and he grew up in that. But you sit up here and you go to Math Hoffa and you start having these conversations about how we're terrorists and we're this and we're a hate group, this, that, and the third. So now culture is hate. But when you put a flag up in your Instagram profile, is that hate? When I go to the Puerto Rican Day Parade and enjoy arroz con pollo, is that hate?
All right, so here we go. I want to start off with you, Shelley. What do you think of this movement? Is it positive for America? No, I want to ask, is it positive for the Black community?
My never to be humble opinion is that this movement is a way to further segregate and divide Black people, give me a second, and have these FBAs use this one as a good separation technique or a good segregation technique. Now, let me say this. I don't give a damn who you associate with, who you want to be called, or what group. I don't really care. But I think this particular issue is a way for, I'm going to say, maybe more conservatives to use as, oh, I'm separating myself because I am a slave or have ancestors that were slaves or whatever. I don't care. Ultimately, I am a foundational Black American. I was born here.
All right, all right. Tyrone, what are your thoughts on this? For as far as the Black community is concerned, do you think this movement has had a positive effect on the Black community?
I think most blacks are not even aware of it
Mhm.
as a movement. And you got to be careful because too often in Black America, we set things up as like these little totems of victimology.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, I will say this from the standpoint of recognizing the nuances within ethnicities and cultures, that is valuable. I mean, in China, you have the majority Han, but you also have the Manchu, the Uyghur. In Mexico, you have the Castilians, and you also have the native born people who predate Spain's arrival. So these distinctions are historically important, but to fall back and rely on them to create, you know, a lot of people talk about being separate and all of this other stuff. Well, look, you could do that now. Find yourself an island in South Pacific and just go be separate. But most people don't even know how to feed themselves without a supermarket, so that's something that would break down very quickly. So, from the standpoint of a movement, I don't think that's got legs, but we should understand cultural nuances and the different degrees to which they exist.
Okay. What about you, Nicole? What does this movement do for race relations in America?
Well, first of all, I rebuke all these folks. You hear me? Every single body involved in it. Not today. Not today, Satan. No, ma'am. No way. No how. First of all, Joe ain't had a hit since the mid 90s. And even then, I don't know if it was hitty, but I don't know what black man he was sitting there talking to, calling him N word after N word after N word, and talking to him about his culture like he's never lived as a black American.
Right.
That's a problem for me. Secondly, Joe's made more money off of black culture that he ought to know better. Here's my thing. I don't begrudge you talent. I don't begrudge you selling your talent to our people. I don't begrudge any of that. I'm a fan of everybody making money. God knows I'm a Republican, born and bred, right? However, you should not bite the hand that's feeding you. That's what's happening here with him. Now, these foundational Black Americans, authority, whoever they are, I've never heard of such. And no, you may not claim me in your group, just because I happen to be born an American, right? Born an American with beautifully melanated skin, but American nonetheless, right? We're not going to start dividing ourselves into these little pockets that make it easier for people to take advantage of other people. Why can't we just for once, black folk, just hear me out. For one time, can we set down the victimhood and pick up some success? Can we set it down, this victimhood, and pick up some honesty, some absolute honesty? Nobody's holding you back but you. The
Yeah.
reason why you don't have what this guy over here has because this dude works harder than you. Oh, well, he had a better education. How do you think he got the education? It didn't fall out the sky and smack him on top of the head. Some people grind harder than others, and sometimes that grind gets you wonderful things, and sometimes it just gets you more grind. It has nothing to do with being a foundational Black American. I've never heard of such. I think it's a cool name. Anything foundational sounds, at least worth a look at. But don't include me in your separatist group. I don't want to know any of the things you stand for. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. We ain't having none of that.
You,
We're not
you
going
know
to
what, KJ, I'm sorry. You know what? When I was looking into this is nothing but classic sociology. This is sociology 101. And what happens is in societies, everybody or every group is trying to differentiate itself somehow, and that's fine if you want to associate with whomever, the Uyghurs, if you want to associate. I'm not saying that. But we find these ways to differentiate ourselves because it gives us a little bit more, maybe if you want to call it power, access, whatever the other adjectives you want to use, so that those groups who can do that, oh, well, I'm this. Then it goes into the political realm. Because I'm this, I need you to make these political concessions and give me these honorary titles, these historic land, whatever the case may be. And then we are right back to where we are, where we wind up, and we wonder why we have so much division. Call yourself whatever you want, whomever, but just do it on your own dime and time. Like Nicole said, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Whatever. Ultimately, I'm an American. I might have melanated skin. I'm an American. I was born here. In fact, I am a Native American. That's how I call myself.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a real quick question. Do you guys think that because the FBA, that topic and that argument made a really big impact on the last presidential election when they descended on Kamala Harris and shut her down when she tried to come out and claim black? Okay. And there was a distinction built around that not only do you not share, just like Barack Obama did not share in that same aspect of the diaspora that came out of the Western slave trade. But in Kamala's case, they're pointing her back to maybe somebody in the family looks like they own slaves. So I think that was an important distinction because you did see sort of ethnic hijacking, or the attempt at least. And one thing that really got me about that is I'm like, Black women, I know y'all are not about to let this Indian woman steal the mantle of first Black female president. So that I was with the FBAs on that.
It was just a matter of just speaking the truth. It wasn't even just for FBAs to call her out, which was fine. Everyone should have called her out because it was a lie. It was not true. Which goes for many of the things that she said. They were lies. She was lying to grift and play on people's emotionalism, and also the attachment that Black people continue to latch onto because of race.
Right.
It's ridiculous. Right. It's ridiculous.
Tyrone, I understand what you're saying. The one thing I would be hesitant about is I don't agree with anybody, any group blaming someone's ancestors for whatever they did. Because in America, just like in America, it goes along with me of you can't charge your in most cases your parents or your siblings for something that you did. So it's like, you stand or fall for the crimes that you commit. You can't you're not responsible for your ancestors. Yes, that's a part of whomever, your history, your ancestry, but I don't care who does it. I don't really, liken to that. Oh, even Kamala Harris, yes, she lied, KJ, I agree. But just because her ancestors may have been slave holders, that's not something that she could control or that she's responsible for.
Not at all. Not at all. And to me, it was just a reflexive response to her at every turn doing things like saying she smoked weed with Tupac or whatever, to try to appeal, these blatantly stereotypical things she tried to use to appeal to the Black community. So when she came out with a plan for Black men and said, I'm going to let all y'all sell weed. I'm like, okay, well, the gloves are off now, lady.
Right.
I mean, she really told us how she feels about Black culture, what she thinks we value. And I think that's where she kind of fell flat with some people, especially Black men. Because, you're telling me that you're going to give us this leg up and only us. That's a problem because, that doesn't really happen. But that leg up is going to be, you're going to legalize marijuana across the nation and give me $25,000. That's the leg up. How is that a leg up? Here's the thing. It's one thing to be proud of who you are in your history, in your culture. And we should all do that. Whether you're white, pink, purple, polka dot, stripe, don't make a difference. Be proud of your ancestry. It's a big part of who you are, but it is not the biggest part of who you are.
Exactly.
You still have the onus to build yourself a life, whether you choose to live that life as an FBA person or, a chubby Latino from the Bronx, who sells his music to Black folk. Whatever you choose to do, just do it well and do it to a point where people can say, this is a decent person and he's doing decent things. The problem I have with Fat Joe is he's not trying to be decent. What he's trying to do is cause more division. And this is somebody, I've said again, who's profited greatly from our culture. And again,
I gotta disagree there. Because a couple things. So I think Fat Joe looks at himself, Latino, and the blacks as one because they all grew up together. It's not so much of him othering himself or them. It's him, he calling them the N word because he calls himself the N word. They're all that's just the way the culture within them around themselves. So I don't necessarily look at him as separating himself from black people because they were all in it, the hip hop industry, the culture of the Bronx, of New York, all of that was really just one. It was not about skin color. It's just about
Right.
who understands the grind, who understands the moment, the hip hop culture and things like that.
But see,
No,
I would have believed that, KJ, except for the last guy, Dave, dropped receipts where he identified as a white person on several applications. So
right?
this is not him sharing oneness with anybody. He had a product, and in order to sell that product, he danced for the music. The same can be said for Mariah Carey early in the 90s when her career was taking off and she was very, very pop. She told her producers, lost a husband over it. Music is not moving that way. Music is moving this way. So I need to be with these people. The next thing you know, she had a skirt on so short you could see her thoughts, and she was hanging on the arm of Cameron. Right. So they do what they need to do to sell that product. And that's what Joe has significantly done. Right. This talk show podcast that he's on, supported by LeBron James. Let's do that. Right. He
Well,
can talk.
that's what I'm talking about. I mean,
Yeah.
you had this guy who was hosting the BET Hip Hop Awards for the past 3 years. BET is supposed to be so black, they didn't have a black guy hosting it. So I'm just like, I'm so done with all of this stuff. This whole FBA and the black people and all of this stuff. It's a grift. It is a grift. I don't believe that the people behind this movement. I think there are people within the movement that maybe are in it because they believe that this was helping the community and things. But these Tariq Nasheeds and the people behind this movement, I think it's just a 2.0 version of BLM. It's some
Exactly.
woke,
I agree.
movement to divide us
That's what I
in
think.
America. And let me tell you something. I'm not with any movement that begins with slavery. Okay. I'm so sick of black people always starting and ending with slavery. You already know it's about victim mentality, and I'm not with it. I'm of a kingdom mentality. I'm here to be the light in this world. And my identity is derived from God the Father through his son, Jesus Christ. Period. I am a daughter of the kingdom. I'm not with all that slavery mentality, that reparations, that begging ass stuff. I'm not with it. I don't want nothing to do with it.
As I taught my child, my daughter, when she was young, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And that's what you say.
Yeah.
There's a book that I would recommend. It's called Black Fortunes. It's about the first 6 black millionaires, all of whom were slaves. Okay. So that if they can do that out of slavery, then there is no excuse tied to slavery that any black person can make here in the 21st century as to why they can't succeed at whatever it is they want to succeed at. Okay. So I would highly recommend that book. I can tell you I've recommended it before, and it's changed some attitudes with regard to the whole victim mentality.
Yeah, I mean, this is to me, all of this is a front of communism, of Marxism. That's what it is. They're using black people to divide America so they can push forward some type of global agenda. Same thing with this whole multiculturalism stuff. Multiculturalism is a threat to America when it's not coupled with assimilation. This is a melting pot.
Exactly.
Different shades, religions, ethnicities, but we are supposed to be united under one American flag and love for our country. Anything other than that, if you push this multiculturalism stuff ahead of all of that, all you're going to end up with is no borders. Global
Exactly.
elites are pushing us towards no borders. They're dividing us by intersectionality and racism and all of that. So then we can have some connection with these people on a global level and then identify globally to push one world order. People better wake up. This is all this is. And so the one thing that stops us from this is two things: patriotism, sort of like nationalism, which is love for our country, and Christianity, because Christianity or Christians believe there is only one God and only one way to heaven, and that's through Jesus Christ. And so this is why they hate this, because this goes directly against this one world, one religion, all of this global stuff. It goes directly against it. When we all love specifically or hold our particular nations to a high regard with patriotism and things like that, you can't push globalism. You can't push open borders.
You can't. And I think this to add to that just a little bit, this FBA, if you want to call it a movement, whatever it is, again, this is America. Associate with whomever group, whatever you want, right? But this particular one is just another way, again, and it's in the Black community, right? And there's another way for Black people to say, oh, well, this group has the real ties to slavery, so they're the ones who get reparations. And then it's another way, again, it's just a softer way, a sounding better, looking better way to ask for reparations, like you all say, victimology. Again, classic sociology.
Well, the whole reparations argument is just something that the Democrats use, like gun control, for example. They're not really interested in doing it because they've had the White House, House, and Senate too many times and didn't do it to actually be interested. It's just something to get their base excited. No one's getting reparations, okay, for chattel slavery. That's a non-starter, and Black people who are advocates for that, they really need to move away from it because it's a waste of time. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We're living in perilous times. We really are. I agree with you, KJ. This attempt to make the world flat is a problem. They're flattening everything that made us different and special, and they're squeezing and squeezing and squeezing until everybody is just flat. There's no better way to say it, that they're stealing culture by saying, okay, you people who live in Baltimore City who are lighter than a brown paper bag, we're going to call you Group A now. Wonderful Group A's. Group B's, you're darker than the paper bag, but you're going to live right next door to the Group A's. And then they're going to come over to the Group A's and go, them dark people over there talking trash about you, this and that. Before you know it, you're warring factions. And this is what happens in the Black community all of the time.
And haven't we gone through that before? Colorism, you're the light-skinned Black, you can pass and you can't pass, you're dark. Haven't we done house, can I say the word? I'm not sure. Can I say the word? I don't know. House niggers and you're the house niggas and we've gone through that before.
And the thing about it is, we are none the better.
Exactly.
I was watching a documentary, and they were talking. Jewish people were talking about their community, and they, we know that, I believe it's still Jewish people, recycle the dollar the most within their community.
Maggie Anderson documented that in her book, Our Black Year.
Right. And so, but the crazy thing about, not crazy, but I thought the most interesting part about it, they're not recycling the dollar because they want to keep it, that's in their community. That's not the most important thing. They are recycling the dollar because they have created a workmanship, a respect for what they do, so much so that they know that if they use people within their community for different types of products, services, they're going to get the best for what they pay.
Right.
And so then because of that, you recycle the dollar, you continue to deal with your community, your culture.
Exactly.
But in the Black community, we are expected to support Black people just because they're Black. You don't have to provide any type of great customer service. If you do something bad and you talk about it, then they say, oh, well, you shouldn't say that because they're Black. You shouldn't, criticize these people because they're Black. You shouldn't expect high service because they're small business and they don't have a lot of people helping them, and all these excuses instead of striving for excellence.
We will accept you going to Africa as your city burns down and then turn around and excoriate anybody like you saw the two ladies
Right, that's
earlier.
a perfect example.
As long as you're Black, any kind of treatment goes. It's fine.
Exactly.
You're just Black. That's it.
You're just Black. That's it. And KJ, to what you said, I have a classic example. When you mentioned that the Jews, they keep their money and the dollar goes around 6 or 7 times.
Mhm.
Think about this. When Booker T. Washington was established in Tuskegee, what did he do? That money stayed in the Black community because not only was it funding the education, those students had to work and build, right?
Mhm.
They also had skills. They got apprenticeships amongst each other. They taught each other and they taught the next generation as well when they left Tuskegee because they worked in the community. So the money stayed there for financial purposes, cultural purposes, like you said, and for competency, for skills that kept being taught to each other up until bam, the 1960s, if you will, give or take, and then when it all went out with the water.
Well, that's when we started the social services industrial complex, but that's a conversation for a whole nother show. Because I'm telling you, we have got some growing up to do in the Black community. We have got to grow up. We can no longer afford to be the child in the American family. We can't afford to do that anymore.
Right.
We have got to grow up. We have to carry our weight, work hard just like everybody else. And what's happened in the past, we should never forget. You should never forget what happened in the past, but you can't build your future on it. You just can't.
Right.
And not have the first 2 words out of your mouth, reparations, and what the government going to do for me.
Exactly.
When we were at the Philadelphia rally for the Trump rally, and it was a long line, of course, outside of the building, outside in front of the building. And so I was in line with some people, and they were picketing outside of the line. And this one Black guy, he comes up to me and he was like, I can't believe you, sister. You in this line, you going to see Trump. What's he going to do about reparations? I lost my mind. I was so enraged because I'm thinking about all the things that we have had to endure within the Biden regime over these last couple of years, with the lockdowns, with the education system, with the economy, with our border, with crime, all these things. And the first thing this Negro's talking about is reparations. I kirked out. I was like, wow, y'all always begging. I'm so sick of it. Stop it. We are more than that. We
Yes.
don't have to beg anybody for something. And that's one thing I do sort of respect people like Umar and things like that. I have no problem if you as Black, if we as the Black community want to say, you know what, I want to be separate, and we need to start building our own, taking care of our own, I mean, I don't agree with it, but I would respect it a little bit. If that's what you want to do it. You can build your own houses, homes, schools, family, all that type of stuff. But I don't hear that. It is always coupled with, well, the government did this to my ancestors and what they're going to do for me and what the reparations and I need this and I need that. And then I'm just turned totally off.
That's it.
I'm turned totally off.
Exactly. Gimme. That's it.
And it didn't used to be like that.
No.
And I think, like Nicole said, or something, it must have happened within, the time where the government
Great Society.
Great Society program, and they have just ruined us. ruined us.
They ruined us. They still, if you want to call it, they ruined us financially, familially, socially, and I think the biggest thing that they ruined is our minds, mentally. The because it's almost like we can't think independently. You got to think based on your skin color, or you got to think. The only thing you can think of is slavery, reparations, being a victim, and again, the government, as I call it, the government. That's the only thing we go through. If you don't say those things, if you don't believe in those, then you are the coon. You are, you lost your black card. All this foolishness.
Listen, it's like any other addiction, right? They give you just enough to keep you coming back. Just enough to keep you coming back. And communities where they tried that universal income, money for nothing, right? You know what happened? They needed more money because the $900 you got, the first month was like, wow, $900 extra. What can I do? Well, they bought J's, they got hair done, and little perks of living well. This is what they spent the money on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Not the mortgage, not any of that. Didn't save a nickel of it because they knew more was coming. And then they get a COLA. More is coming. And when you do that, you say, here, take this money because I don't think you have the skill set to make it. I don't think you're ever going to be capable of having a decent life under your own terms. But I, Uncle Sam, I'm going to give you enough to survive just this month. The next month, you're going to have to dance so you can get some more. And oh, by the way, you got this husband in the house. He's going to have to go because I'm not going to keep giving you the money if you're going to have him too. It can't be the two of us. So now the daddy's gone out of the household and you're still getting your little piece, little tiny something. Every single month, you're dancing for that man. Right. But in the meantime, you've destroyed your family. You've destroyed your own mind and your work ethic. And the generations behind you who see you as, quote unquote, a strong Black woman struggling to make ends meet. Crying at night when your kids are asleep because you don't know how to rob Peter to pay Paul. Right? That is the history that happened to us after this great society. The good news is that we're beyond that point now. When you hear people singing old Negro spirituals in church, it burns me up because they're not singing it from a historical context to say, oh, wasn't that a great song? Right. They still think we live there.
Oh, yeah, they say it. Right. They say it.
We don't live there anymore. We have overcome. We don't have to, we will overcome. We have overcome. Now what? And this is the problem, and bring it back to politics. This is the problem that the modern Democrat Party has. Now that we've overcome, now what? They don't have a now what, because as we said earlier, they don't plan for the future. They live in the right now with all the emotionalism. So they keep coming back to something that will inflame you. Oh my God, I got to get out here because Trump is Hitler. I got to get out here because he's a fascist. Half these people don't know what a fascist is. They couldn't get them off the top of their head if you gave them the initials.
No, yeah, I agree.
Prove that in college campuses. They don't know what any of these words mean. The problem that we're going to have is that if those are the loudest voices in the room, it will continue to perpetuate that lifestyle. It's on us in shows like this and other shows like this to make sure that this voice is the loudest voice in the room. There's no reason why you can't succeed. There's nobody coming to your house, duct taping you to the door and telling you you cannot. You can. I mean, look at the kids who play video games for a living. They figured a way to turn their hobby into money. There's a way if you will it. You have to work hard. And being Black does not exempt you from that. It does not.
Amen.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, if this, like you all already said, if this is what they want to do, do it. That's you can be with whoever you want to be with, call yourselves whatever you want. But I mean, if they want a movement that's actually going to be about the people, about the communities, and doing something, don't come around here talking about all these reparations and systemic inequality and all this type of stuff. Just build up the community. Just do the community. Do what's in the community. If you want to deal with just Black people, deal with just Black people and stop begging. Stop begging.
That's it.
All right. So we are at the end of the time. Looks like we have some upset people in the chat.
I think so.
Yeah, we got
Started
some.
something, JJ. We started something.
Yeah, but it is what it is.
So you want to be starting something.
So
you
we
can
got to get
do it.
some of these people in here. Has been. Oh, thank you,
Thank
Clyde.
you, Clyde.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we definitely wanted to just touch on this and comment on it. And so we will continue to keep you all updated on this fire and things that are going on within the community. So check out our merch, folks. We do have merch that we offer. We have a merch store. If you go to our website at popandpoliticslive.com and then you click on shop, you can get all of our merch there. We have really cool shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, mugs, really nice things you can get. You can go to our website and check it out. We certainly appreciate your support. Definitely appreciate all of the super chats. If you enjoyed this program tonight, drop a super chat, or you can also Cash App us. We do have a Cash App here. You would go $ Be More Pop Stars, I believe is the Cash App. Yep, it is. Okay, yep. $ Be More Pop Stars is our Cash App, and we appreciate all of the support. All right, so for all the hecklers in the chat, FYI, we all are from Baltimore, Maryland. Most of us are from Baltimore, Maryland, to predominantly Black area. And let me tell you something, I'm sick of FBAs, okay?
I'm sick of them too. I'm just sick of people begging all the damn time.
Yeah. Okay, so you can just save all your stuff. You can save it. We've heard it all.
We see
I got one guy,
we see a beggar every day. We see a beggar every day on the corners when we drive.
Exactly. You can actually walk down Baltimore and step in human feces, and it's generally from an FBA. Okay, so there you go.
Hey, real quick, KJ.